Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and in this lesson, we're going to start learning a new piece by Johann Sebastian Bach that I think you'll love. Prelude in C Minor BWV 999. Let's have a listen. Let's check out the score for Prelude in C Minor. First of all, what is a prelude? Well, technically, prelude means something that comes before. In music, a prelude is usually a short piece, often with a consistent or repetitive rhythm or theme. And often in music, a prelude would come before some other work, like another movement. Like Bach wrote many preludes and fugues, where it would start with the prelude and then go into a fugue, which is another kind of musical piece that we'll learn about later. And you might have noticed at the start, I said that this was BWV 999. BWV stands for Bach Werke Verzeichnis, or Bach Works Catalog. You see, in 1950, a musicologist named Wolfgang Schmieder organized and collected all of Bach's works, giving each one a special BWV number in his catalog, so we could keep track of all of Bach's music. Bach lived in a day before composers were publishing things in opuses, and so we don't have opus numbers for Bach. Instead, thanks to Mr. Schmieder, we have a catalog, which is the BWV. So let's dive in. What's our tempo indication? Allegro, which means what? If you said fast, you're correct. Our clefs are treble and bass, as expected. And what key are we in? Well, the title kind of gave it away. I already told you it's Prelude in C Minor. But also seeing these three flats and noticing we start with the C in the left hand, and what triad does the right hand play right off the bat? Because we start with a C and a C minor triad and the three flats, we know we're in the key of C minor. Can you play a 1-octave C natural minor scale with your right hand? Just kind of get that key in your mind. And what's our time signature? If you said 3/4, you're correct. Now, scanning the piece, what do you notice? You've got lots of 16th notes. And this symbol here, a 16th rest. We might not have seen one of these before. A 16th rest looks just like an 8th rest, but with an extra flag. Remember, an 8th rest looks like this, and usually gets half of a beat if there's a 4 on the bottom. A 16th rest just gets a 4th of the beat. So if we're counting subdivided 16th notes, we could have 1 E and A. Notice all these are 16th notes. So altogether that creates beat 1. And then here we have 2 E and A. 16th rest gets 3, E on that 16th note, and A. You'll recall that you can write 16th notes with flags. It would need 2 flags. 8th notes can get 1 flag. Or if they're beamed together, of course, 16th notes get a double beam as opposed to 8th notes with just a single beam. So all these are 16ths, 16th rest, 16th note, 16th notes, 8th rest, 8th note, and another way to draw 8th notes with beams or flags. Both mean the same thing. So notice here on beat 3, something interesting is going to happen. On beat 3, the left hand plays this 8th note while the right hand rests. 3, left hand plays E, right hand plays, and left hand plays A, right hand plays. So it's going to go back and forth very quickly. 3 E and A, 3 E and A, 3 E and A. So listen to this whole measure and count out loud with me. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A. And of course that's going to go much faster because it's allegro. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A. Now, before we learn to play this, you might benefit from pausing and circling all the notes that are flat on page 1. We're going to just work on page 1 today. So you might go through, here's an E, so we might circle that, another E, there's an E here. Go through and hunt for all the B's, E's, and A's and circle them unless, like here's a B, but it has a natural symbol. Remember, a natural or sharp or flat lives the whole measure long until the bar line. So that means this B, this B, this B, this B, and this B are all natural. So I'm not going to circle those because the flat gets canceled. So if you'd like time to circle all the flats, there's an A here, and I'll let you find all the rest. Right hand and left hand, hunt for flats, circle them. If you'd like time to do that, go for it. Otherwise, let's try to play it. So let's start with the left hand today. Go ahead and place your left hand here in the C minor pentascale. Start with finger 5 on C. And let's try these first 3 measures. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1. Now you'll notice I played these 8th notes a little bit detached. Remember, Bach is from the Baroque era. And so a lot of the articulations that we like to use in piano playing, they didn't put in the music in Bach's day. Bach and other Baroque composers left so much to the imagination and the interpretation of the performer, which makes Baroque music a lot of fun to play, in my opinion. Now, it's very common to make these 8th notes a bit detached. We can make them legato, but I think this sounds very mysterious if you separate them a little bit. Not staccato. I don't particularly like a staccato sound. That sounds too persnickety, too stuffy to me. I like to hold that note out a little bit, but separate it a little bit too. So there's a little bit of personality to it. Try just playing these 3 notes and just separate those notes just a bit. So they're not legato, they're not staccato. It's somewhere in between. You try. To me, that has the most personality for this piece. Okay, now let's look at what the right hand is doing. You'll find that the right hand is, throughout this whole piece, playing triads. And so it may be the fastest to learn this as a block chord first. Look at all the notes in measure 1. All the notes you play are part of this C minor triad. So here's measure 1. What do you notice in measure 2? Same triad. And then we'll put it together. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1. And that pattern, that rhythmic pattern, is going to continue through the entire piece. So pause the video and very slowly work on left hand and right hand together, measures 1 and 2, and stop on the first note of measure 3. We're going to always play across the bar line when we're learning in sections and stop on the first note of the next measure, and that's so we can learn to connect all the measures, okay? It's better not to stop on the bar line if you can. Play across the bar line to the first note of measure 3, and then press play to go on once you feel confident with those first 2 measures. Okay, now let's go on from measure 3. Our left hand plays a C, and now we have an A flat, F, C, and again a little bit detached, rest, A flat, F, C. Okay, now you try. Remember to think about style. Even as you're learning it, playing it with the correct style will help save you a lot of time down the road. Now let's look at what the right hand is doing. Can you take all the notes of measure 3 with the right hand and turn it into a triad? See if you can figure it out. I see a C, an F, and an A flat. I know it's A flat from the key signature with fingers 1, 3, 5. So play this triad with the right hand, and then look at measure 4, and can you figure out measure 4? What triad is the right hand playing in measure 4? If you said the same one, you're correct. Measures 3 and 4 use the same notes. So here's in measure 3, we have. And again, we're going to stop on the first note of the next measure, always, in this piece as we're learning it. I want you to practice playing across the bar line. So now pause the video and work on measures 3 and 4, right hand and left hand together. We're going to go ahead and learn this hands together almost right from the start because the hands are working so closely together in this piece. So pause to work on measures 3 and 4, going into the first note of measure 5, then press play to go on. Okay, let's check out measures 5 and 6. What is the left hand doing? C, rest, A flat, F, C, rest, A flat, F, C. We're going to stop on the first note of measure 7 now. Hey, these are the notes we've seen before, so this should be easy for the left hand. Take a second and try that on your own. Good. Now, let's look at measure 5. Can you figure out what triad the right hand is playing? First, play it as a blocked chord. If you're playing this, you're correct. Notice we have a B natural, which cancels the flat from the key signature. Remember, we've got our C minor key signature, but that B natural, and then a D and an F. So here's the triad. And then look at measure 6, and can you play that as a triad? Same thing, right? So Bach's kind of started a pattern here, right? Back in measure 1, we have this, then we play the same thing again. So basically the same measure repeats, and then notice we have that twice in a row. Measures 3 and 4 are the same, and then measures 5 and 6 are the same. So little 2-measure patterns here. Okay, so now let's go back and review all the triads that the right hand is playing. Try this with me. Go back to measure 1, play our first triad, C minor. Measure 2, same chord again. Now measure 3, we come up to here. Now I want to pause you here. Can you tell me the name of this chord? If you said F minor, you're correct. It's an F minor chord in second inversion. We do that again in measure 4. And then measure 5, we come down here, here. And this is a great way to practice this piece, to just notice how the chords are moving. See, it's a lot faster, and then your fingers get comfortable with those positions, and then it's just adding the rhythm in. pause the video, and I want you to work on measures 1 through 6. Doesn't have to be as fast as I just played it. Start slowly at first, and then press play when you're ready to go on. Now, starting here in measure 7, let's look at the left hand. We start with the C, rest, and then finger 1 is going to come to E flat, skip down, and then step down to B flat, rest, E flat, C, A flat, rest, E flat, C, G. Notice this pattern. We've got this E flat, B flat, A flat, G. Each one is going a little bit lower. If you look at the first note of each measure, got this pattern from B flat down to A flat, down to G. Let's look at what the right hand is doing. Can you look at measure 7 and turn these notes? The right hand is playing into a triad. Try and figure it out on your piano. We've got a G below middle C, we've got middle C, and we've got E flat. Can you tell me the name of this chord? If you said C minor, second inversion, you're correct. Whenever you see a fourth in a triad, it's often some kind of inversion. Okay, so if you have a third and a fourth, you know that's a triad inversion. So you can just flip it up here to see, oh, that's C minor, second inversion. We just put the G on the bottom, right? And then what do you notice about measure 8? Do any notes change in the right hand? You have to check every note to be sure. But nothing changes. What about measure 9? Does anything change, or is it exactly the same? If you said exactly the same, you're correct. So let's listen from measure 7. We have 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a... Now, I got a little bit ahead. Let's pause and just work on measure 7 through the first note of measure 10. Pause to work on that, hands together, and then press play to go on. Now, I have a challenge for you. I'd like you to try pausing the video, and by yourself, can you figure out measures 10, 11, and 12, using some of these techniques we've been talking about, figuring out the left hand first, and then figuring out the right hand by just thinking in triads, blocked chords. Try and figure out measures 10, 11, 12, and then play the first note of measure 13 to finish on your own, and then press play and we'll check it out together. So let's look at the left hand first. We start on this G in measure 10, rest, E flat, C, F sharp, rest, E flat, C, F sharp, rest, then F sharp, D, G. So that's what the left hand should have played. Let's add in the right hand, see what this sounds like. And that's where we'll stop for today. So notice the right hand had these A naturals. So this is the triad. You should have figured out in measures 11 and 12. I love this sound. Okay, it creates what's called a diminished 7 chord. Remember our chords? This would be A minor, but this is A diminished. Remember, that's a diminished triad. We added an F sharp, and now it's an even cooler sounding chord, which we'll learn more about later. I love this song so much, this piece, I should say. I just think that's such a great moment there. So let's stop there for today. We've got that first page learned on your own. I encourage you to practice it right hand alone, just playing each measure like this. See how fast that is to practice this way? So your fingers get used to all those positions, and then you can add in the left hand. If you like, the metronome could be a great tool to use for practicing this as well. Maybe start at 100, 2 notes per click. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, or whatever speed you are comfortable with starting at. And then gradually speed that up until you're at the tempo you'd like to perform. My last bit of advice is to make sure you're observing the rests in the left hand. 1 E and a 2. See, on beat 2 is where the left hand lifts. Lift, lift, lift. And that rest is part of the energy of the music. Great job today getting started learning Prelude in C Minor BWV 999 by Johann Sebastian Bach. Thanks for watching and learning with me, and happy practicing. Hey princess, where do you send bad rainbows to? I don't know. To Prism. But don't worry, it's a light sentence. That was actually pretty good. I found that joke very, enlightening. Oh, good one. When you appreciate my humor, it really brightens my day.